If you look at the prices of properties, even in the US, and you compare it with prices of properties in Lagos, you begin to wonder that what is happening? What's the value proposition in regards to the property? Why is this property this price? What makes the property a certain price? Why would I buy a $2 million property in Nigeria and there's no space? Why?
The real truth is that real estate is drastically overpriced, especially in Lagos, considering the facilities that are available to citizens.
Tayo and Steven are 100% correct. Real estate in Nigeria, Lagos especially, is overpriced. There is no debate about this. There is no justification why somebody like Sujimoto should be selling apartments for $750 to $1 million. It doesn't make sense. In fact, let's take our own property for example. So this is a 5-bedroom fully detached duplex. We are currently selling in our estate in Ikota. It's in the market for 115 million naira. But from me to you, this property isn't worth 115 million. Why then are we selling it for that amount? That's what I'm going to explain to you in this video. For those who don't know me, my name is Durubon from Homelantic. Homelantic is a full-service real estate development company here in Lagos. We are into building construction, general contracting, and property brokerage. What that simply means is we build properties to sell, we sell other people's properties, or if you have your own design you want us to bring to life, we also do that for you. In fact, we used to also sell building materials at a point, but we shut down that business around February this year because of the currency issues. I'll talk about that in another video. Now, there are 3 major reasons why real estate in Lagos is overpriced. You have the cost of finance, the cost of construction, and the cost of documentation. Now, I'm going to go through each of them. For the first one, which is the cost of finance, what many people don't realize is that real estate is first a finance business before it is a construction business. I will go over that again. Real estate is first a finance business before it is a construction business. What that simply means is that before any developer can think of buying land, engaging architects, or doing anything whatever, he needs to first think about where he will get the money to carry out that project. That is the first assignment. Even the Holy Book says that who goes to build a house without first counting the cost? Now, there are 5 ways we raise money in this business. So now I'm talking about cost of finance, and I'm going to break the other 3 points one after the other. So under cost of finance, there are 5 ways to raise money in this business. You have your personal savings, your friends, your family, your associates, basically your network, off-takers, or publicly called off-plan. You have the capital market, and then you have the banks. So for personal savings, this is self-explanatory, right? This is where you fund the project from your pocket. You have 10, 20, 30 million naira in your bank account. You put into a development project. No pressure on you. Anytime your money finishes, you go home and rest. You don't have any obligations to anybody. However, the limitation to this source of funding is that there is a limit to how much you can actually do. Real estate is a highly capital-intensive business, right? And there's only so much 30 million, 40 million, 15 million naira can do. I don't know how many individuals that have up to 1 billion naira in their bank account. And please, if you do, give me a call, right? We have projects where you can put that money into. Another issue with this source of funding is that it is very risky taking your entire net worth and pouring it into a project. Real estate is a risky business. It is a high-risk, high-reward business. So going in, with your 2 feet, 100% can be dangerous. It works out for so many people. At the same time, it has burnt so many people. So it's always good to find other sources of funding, which I'm going to be explaining later on. The second way we raise money in this business, which is what we do and which I feel is the best, is your network. This is where you have a group of people that know, like, and trust you, put money together to fund a project. Let's say you have 10 friends that have 10 million naira. You put this money together, becomes 100 million naira. You can do a much more impactful project than if each of you go to individually do 10 million naira projects. Another advantage of this source of funding is that since these people already know you and trust you, there's a whole lot less pressure, right? Yes, they expect returns, but the returns will not be as high as the other options I'm going to talk about. However, it has its own disadvantages. Human beings can change. People can betray trust, right? And this is the major disadvantage of this source of funding. Now, the third way we raise money in this business is through off-takers, or popularly called off-plan. So this is where a developer sells a property before it is fully built. And now many people will ask, why would somebody buy an uncompleted building? Well, it comes with its own advantages for the buyer and as well the developer. On the buyer side, off-plan offers the ability for staggered payment. First of all, off-plan gives you good deals, right? Because a developer, most times, why developers do off-plan is because they either don't have money to complete that project 100%, or they are looking for a guaranteed exit. We started doing this year, and our own reason was for guaranteed exit. Now, it takes about 6 months to finish like a duplex, and you spend another 3 months to 6 months to market it, to look for buyers. And it has even gotten worse these days because the market is kind of slow right now. So you have properties staying in the market for a year or 2 years, right? So 6 months plus 6 months to another 1 year. This is tying funds into a project for a very long time. However, if as a developer you're able to find somebody who keys into your project while it is under construction, you have a guaranteed exit at the end of whatever payment plan you people structure. And usually developers give discounts so that people can buy into this project. For example, this is our project in Ikota. It's currently selling for 90 million naira, 4-bedroom semi-detached duplex. In that area, today, 4-bedroom semi-detached duplexes are selling for as high as 95 million to 110 million. Now you ask, why are we doing this discount? We are not doing it because we like you. We are also businessmen, right? But we want to lock down that price now. We are giving you tomorrow's value at today's price. So we want to lock down that money now so that by April of 2024, we have secured our finance, we have secured our money, and then we can start planning for that project. Some of these properties that are selling for 95 million, 110, they've been in the market for 6 months, getting to 1 year, right? But we rather want to cash out immediately and then go to other projects. So there's a whole lot here. Probably I'll create another video on off plan. I don't want to get derailed. However, off plan comes with its own peculiar challenges and difficulties. One of the major ones is defaults, right? 100% you have clients that are going to default. And if you have a situation where you have more defaults than people who pay up, it can be catastrophic to your project. His wife is sick, the husband needs to go for surgery, I've not paid my children's school fees. You have a lot of problems. So this is the risk that comes with collecting upland funds from the public. Now, the fourth way we raise money in this business is through the capital market. We personally haven't had any experience with this, but at least share some light on what goes on there. So the capital market is where a large group of investors pool funds together and then give to businesses that they've been able to vet. Businesses can access, huge pool of funds. I'm talking about billions. A couple of real estate companies raised 10 billion naira, sometime last year. It gives you access to large pool of funds. Another advantage of the capital market is, compared to the next option I'm going to talk about, the interest rates are quite reasonable, around 11 to 15%. However, it has its own distinct disadvantages. One of the major disadvantages is that it usually comes with very short tenure, less than 1 year. I don't know what a developer is supposed to do within 1 year. Is it for drafting the project, execution, or exits, right? This is something that should take you between 2 to 3 years, but you're expected to execute in 1 year and pay back. So this is a huge disadvantage to collecting money from the capital market. Another disadvantage that the capital market has is that there are a lot of red tapes. You need to go through a lot of processes, corporate due diligence, work with a number of other partners before you can access these funds. So this can be quite limiting to a couple of developers. Not everybody can access such finances. And then finally, the banks. This is where the problem starts. Currently, Nigerian banks lend to businesses for as high as 26 to 28%. Let me put that into context. What this means is that if a developer borrows 1 million naira from a Nigerian bank, is expected to pay back 1,280,000 naira by this time next year. We are now going to be talking about Nigerian real estate versus South African real estate.
South Africa held its key interest rate steady on Thursday, but policymakers cited continued risks to the inflation outlook. The central bank kept its main lending rate unchanged at 8.25%.
The interest rate in South Africa is around 15%, meaning a South African developer who borrows that same 1 million rands is expected to pay back 1,150,000 rands, which is already half of what the Nigerian developer is expected to pay back. And most of the houses that you see in Lagos today, developer houses, are built on bank loans because that is the easiest source of funding to access. So if you see a house selling for 100 million naira, automatically take away 25% because the banks own that amount. The developer is not going to pay the bank from his own pocket. He's going to include it into the cost of the house. So this is the first problem. The interest rate in Nigeria is too high. It's killing businesses. A property that is selling for 100 million naira in Nigeria, in equivalent terms, is supposed to be selling for 75 million naira if we had a more stable and reasonable economy. So this is the first problem. Now let's talk about the second problem, which is the cost of construction. Inflation rates in Nigeria today stands at close to 30%, I think 26 or 28%, right? But let's stay with 25 for ease of calculation. What that means is that if I buy a product for 1,000 naira today, by the time I go back to the market next year to buy that same product, that product is now worth 1,250,000 naira. In South Africa, inflation rate is 5%.
The South African Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee has stressed that it wanted to see inflation sustainably around the midpoint of its target range of 3 to 6% before considering rate cuts.
Meaning, if I go and buy something in South Africa today, by this time next year, that product is worth 1,050 rands. How do you expect Nigerian developers to compete with such circumstances? That's why I pity people like Sujimoto, who imports everything they do, in a quest to aim for luxury, right? For us, most of our items are locally sourced, so it's kind of easier for us to play. Like I said, we used to have an importation business, but we shut it down because it was no longer making sense. You go today, buy something at a certain price. By the time you're going back to buy new goods, you're using your profit to buy currency. And this inflation has eaten deep into every other thing. Cost of labor has also gone up. The professionals, everybody has increased their prices. Why? Because their own lifestyle has gone up. Diesel is now 1,200. So transportation of goods to site has also gone up. You see yourself buying sand for 30,000 naira, but transporting the sand to your site is 70,000 naira. When we started this, our estate project in November 2021, we were buying a bag of cement for 2,250. Today, a bag of cement is touching 5,500. We are buying a ton of iron rods for 385,000, right? Today, a ton of iron rod is between 530 to 580,000 naira. South African developers don't go through this problem. Developers in other parts of the world don't go through this problem. How do you think businesses are able to survive in such inflationary environment? So like I was talking about the workers, I mean, fuel is now 600 naira, right? So if transportation used to cost them 5,000 naira to site, it is now about 15,000 naira. They also include it in the cost of their services, and we also include it in the cost of the properties at the end of the day. Now, under this cost of construction, let's also talk about cost of infrastructure. Let's take this our estate again, for example. When we came here, it was pure swamp, right? We sandfilled the place, we did the roads, put the light, bought the transformer, bought everything. We basically became the government of this area. South African developers or foreign developers don't also go through this problem, right? Theirs is plug and play. A South African developer is not thinking about doing road. He's not thinking about putting light. He's not thinking about buying transformer. He's not thinking about doing borehole. All these costs will also be factored in to the cost of the building at the end of the day. We bought transformer for this place for 5 million naira. That's not going to come from our pocket. We're going to pay for it through the cost of the house. So these are the issues. These are the problems that we actually face. Now, if you see a property for 100 million naira, take away 25% interest rate from the banks, take away another 25% inflation rate. That should give you the ideal price of properties in Nigeria. So it is not the fault of the developers. The economy is very unstable, right? We are all suffering it. 2003 Toyota Corolla, as at I think 2016, 2017, it was selling for 850,000 naira. Today, that car is more than 5 million naira. A car that is more than 20 years old. People seem to understand this when it comes to that aspect, but when it comes to real estate, there's just something that switches off in their heads, and they don't relate. Now, the third reason why real estate is overpriced in Lagos is the cost of documentation. Now, I wouldn't go too deep in this because of how our society is. I don't want to be taken out of context, right? But there's a whole lot the government can do to help us in this area. Now, if investors don't feel protected in a system, they will either stop bringing money into that system or bring money at a higher interest rate because of the risk involved. So many people don't trust our judiciary, or the judiciary is slow. Like I said, I don't want to say a lot here, right? But our institutions need a lot of work. They need to wake up to provide trust in the system. Also, it's very easy to blame developers for not getting approvals or consents or whatever. But I'm telling you that it is very difficult to get these documents. Again, I might create another video on this, but if you have any questions, you can ask me in the comment section. I don't want to say what I'm not supposed to say on air. So it's not just about coming here to rant and complain, right? So what are the possible solutions? Probably a decision maker can be watching this video and might take one or two of my suggestions. Now, for the cost of finance, one way the government can help us here, meaning both the developers and the buyers, because it doesn't pay us, right, to have properties sitting for 1 year, 2 years without selling it. We want to sell fast and go. So I don't think there's any developer that wants to make so much insane profit that he would rather leave his house in the market. No, you want to exit, because the more that your property is sitting there, yes, it might be increasing in value, but the dollar is killing it. That's even another point I didn't even raise when we were talking about cost of construction and inflation, right? So it is not in the developer's interest to keep a property long, in the market for a long time, but you cannot sell at a loss. Somebody asked us the other day when I was talking about the change in the price of cement. It was like, but you built this thing when cement was 2,250. How is it not affecting you? If we sell this thing now, we're not going to build another one. Where we go? Are they going to give us cement at the old price? Are we not going to buy it at the new price of cement? So we have to sell it at the current value of building materials. So these are the issues. So one way the government can help us in this area is to liaise with the banks, either through tax breaks or whatever incentives, so that they give developers loans at favorable interest rates, right? 10% to 15% will do a lot for this industry. Or they can create, like they have a bank of industry, create a bank of real estate where developers can go and access cheap funding from the government, and it will solve a whole lot of problems. It will drastically reduce the cost of housing in Nigeria. Now, for the cost of construction, this one is to totally overhaul the entire economy. From inflation to the currency issues, we need serious intervention. It is not easy at all. When we started this, our current project we're selling off plan now, right? As at around 1st of October, we bought iron rods at 485. When we started October, in November now, it is as high as 530 to 580 in about a month. Businesses are suffering. So the government needs to step in and balance this economy so that all of us know what we are doing. Now, for cost of documentation, like I said, our institutions need a lot of work. People need to trust the institutions. As an investor, I need to know that if I give my money to this developer and he defaults for whatever reason, I can get justice at the end of the day. But if I know I'm going to spend 5 years, 7 years in the bank, I would rather not give any developer my money. I will not invest. I'll keep it in my bank and leave it like that. Also, for cost of documentation, something needs to be done about how long and how difficult it is to obtain permits and approvals. Doing all this will help the industry in the long run. So that has been my time. I hope you found this video valuable. If you did, signify by liking the video, subscribing to the channel. I promise to bring much more informative content like this as regards real estate and the business of real estate. So if you're somebody who has an intention of building a house in Nigeria or being a developer yourself, this is where you need to be, right? I'll let it all out. Now, we have products for sale. We have 4-bedroom semi-detached duplex is currently selling. If you're interested in the off-plan project, you can reach out to me. 90 million naira. You have a 6 months payment plan. Or if you have any other property, because like I said, we have a brokerage arm. If you want to buy other properties through us, you can reach out to Homelantic. Or you have a design, you want somebody to build it for you. We also do that, general contracting. We are your one-stop shop when it comes to real estate in Nigeria. So till next time, my name is Bond.